Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream. My name is Rich. I am here with co-host Ed. Ed, how you doing?
What's going on, Rich? I'm doing good tonight. Happy to
I'm
be
doing
here.
well.
Another Monday, talking fishing.
Yeah.
Excited to talk to Rob. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited for this one. We're going to jump pretty quickly into this, everybody. We're going to be talking with Rob English from English Angling, a guy that I have followed mainly on Instagram, also YouTube, a guy that fishes waters local, really local to you, fairly local to me, meaning I fish there quite often throughout the year. And we're going to start talking about striped bass fishing in the kayak and backwaters primarily. But as with all of these streams, we may jump into some other things as well. So really looking forward to this thing. I've never met Rob until tonight, about 10 minutes ago. So I'm going to be learning along with everybody else. All right, let's bring as right before we bring Rob on, we got to do the regular housekeeping things. Let's throw it up here, guys. As you go through here, I hate doing this, but like, subscribe, shares. Really, it comes down to the likes and comments. When YouTube algorithm sees interaction with a live stream, it tends to show it to more people. So would really appreciate it if you could, if you find any value at all, a like. You don't have to subscribe. A like would be awesome. A comment in the chat. We'll answer any questions that come through in the chat as well. And if you would like to support the stream and the channel, you can also join as a member. There's a link in the description. Don't hit that now. Hit it some other time. And with that all said, let's welcome Rob into the stream. Rob, how you doing?
Hey, good. How you guys doing?
What's going on, Rob?
Not much.
Doing good. So as I was saying, really excited to meet you today for the first time. You're a guy that I have seen on Instagram for quite a while. I've always been jealous of your pictures. I don't take very good pictures. I usually just try to rip them off the video and hope they look okay. But, I'm one of those guys that always seems to have the sun behind them. So I get terrible pictures. But you fish a lot, South Jersey, AC area. And you really produce throughout the year.
A lot of that has to do with just being out there, getting out there. Like this last month's been pretty slow for me, just between weather and everything else, new house and all that. But yeah, it's just getting out and getting fish as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean the wind has really been the terrible thing. So you're fairly local. I don't know exactly where you live, but I believe you're local to the coast.
Yeah, I'm right outside Atlantic City, right about 10 minutes from the city.
Okay, so right outside of Atlantic City. So I'm assuming that you might be able to duck down a couple times a week for a couple of hours at a time. And I'm going down once a week at this point, and we've just been destroyed by wind. Canceled last Saturday. Didn't want to get out in the 50-mile-an-hour winds. So going to be trying again this week, but we'll see. So so the wind has really been screwing everything up as far as I'm concerned. But
exactly,
the fish are here.
The fish are definitely here, and it's funny because I've been watching guys up in North Jersey, Manasquan area, Raritan Bay, and all that. They're still every night out there getting them in the bay. They just started by us down here, out front of Atlantic City. They can catch them out front, coming through. They're just pretty steady. Guys are going out there in the wind, getting beat up, but they're still getting them.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put it in right. I mean, is the season to get beat up out on the water, get cold. Be prepared. We can talk about that in a little bit. There's one guy, Mike Velez, fishes a lot of Raritan.
He's been out there every night. It seems like.
Yeah, I'd like him to get on this stream sometime because that's a guy who he just goes out and gets fish, and he, I mean, whether it's flounder, whether it's striped bass, he just goes out there and gets fish. And he appears to be primarily a nighttime fisherman, which I love fishing at night.
I'm usually the same way because I got 2 kids, wife, and everything. So when they go to bed, I'll go out fishing from 10 o'clock till 2-3 in the morning. Come home, go to sleep a few hours, get up at 8:30, get the kids to school, then go to work.
That's how my fall last year was for the most part. In nighttime, it's not easy to do videos. So I didn't do videos. I just went out and fished for me, which I actually don't do very often anymore. It's usually if I'm fishing, I'm videotaping something. But man, I did really well at night last fall, mainly behind Brigantine, because that's an easy trip for me from Pennsylvania. just fishing docks and fishing sod. But this year, I mean, the water temperatures are up.
Yeah, there was water's been warm, air's been warm. That's what I said. Like, there's Murder May guys are still fishing in the bay. There are just tons of fish up there. So they just started. I think it was last week hitting around here out front. And so I think I was fishing in the rivers. I do a lot of bridge fishing at nighttime. Went out, check things out last week, and there's a few fish there. Nothing crazy, but it seems like most of them are moving out for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's it's weird. I mean the water temperature is way warmer than it should be.
Yeah, for
which I
December.
think it's extending it, right? So we're a few weeks past when it should have been. I keep seeing on Facebook especially. Well, now that the run's over, and then somebody posts a pic of a 40-pounder off a brigantine.
It's like, not over
is
yet.
it over?
No,
it's not
still
over.
not. They're still catching.
Yeah. I mean, even in some of the places I fish at nighttime, there's fish there all year long. They hang out there. They come to the bridges at nighttime and feed. But some of the back bays, I do occasionally go out in back bays and fish, but it's mostly like fishing at nighttime, or we go up north and fish out through the inlets, go out front.
Yep. Now, so let's dive right in for those that. Well, let me say this: if you haven't gone kayak fishing in saltwater yet, and you want to go for striped bass, I would recommend not doing it at this time of year as your first foray out there. With that disclaimer. I'm going to ask you some basic questions about it. So you let's talk about the kayak that you use when you're fishing.
Predominantly when I'm fishing, if I'm doing like fishing bridges at night, going in the backwaters, just targeting certain areas I know I'm getting to. I have my Recon 120, my wilderness Recon, pedal drive. Then if I'm going to be doing some exploring and going a little bit farther, I have the Radar 135 with a torpedo on it.
Right.
So that way I can spend a little less time. I mean, I'm to the point now where I don't want to spend an extra hour pedaling to that one spot or trying to get to the spots without killing myself, especially in the wind and stuff. Like it's over the years just doing trips where you get out, launch a kayak, spending all day, then you got an hour and a half pedal back up with the wind in your face. Just brutal.
Yeah, you just want to cry sometimes.
Yeah.
Every time you
when the tide's coming in or something, it's just talking about going out front. So many times we fish Manasquan Inlet, going out of the inlet just before the tide switches, coming back in against the tide, and it's crazy. Like you're pedaling so hard. I don't know how I do it sometimes. I guess you just get in the zone, but as soon as you stop, you're back.
Yeah, I had a time. I tell people about this one where I ran Absecon Inlet, and I was offshore and I was trying to chase some bass. This was last year, and I didn't time it. I usually time it so I go out on the outgoing, and then you can literally just lazy pedal, and you're going at 5 miles per hour.
Exactly.
And then same thing on the way back in. You have to be careful of the wind, right? You still don't want you still got to be careful of the wind, even with the current. But I didn't do it this time. I got excited when I saw the birds. I went out and I missed it. And when I was coming in, there was a rescue of 2 surfers that got swept around the jetty of Brigantine, the South Jetty. So they're out rescuing those, and I'm just pedaling. And it took me, God, I don't remember. I think it was an hour. I was going 0.1 to 0.2 at my fastest miles per hour all the way in.
Jesus.
And it was just, the best part of it was when I hit those jetties, the finger jetties, and I could tuck in behind and rest and then go around the corner and go up,
Yeah, once you get the jetties, you're good. Like even with like Atlantic City, I've gone through it. Once you get around the tip, you're fine. If you get around the tip and you hug on the rocks, I mean, I'm talking 5-10 feet for those rocks. There's a lot less drag through there. Even though the tide's coming out, it'll still help you go through it, which takes some of it off.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't learn that until I tucked behind the first jetty. I didn't even think about it. But, if you think anything of physics, it makes sense because the drag on the rocks is just going to slow that current right there.
Exactly.
Live and learn, right?
Yep.
So okay, so you've got the wilderness, you got the recon and the radar. Ed, you've got the salty, right?
Yes.
Old Town salty. I've got the Old Town big water. So those are 4 kayaks that are exceptional in saltwater. Wilderness is actually a brand that a lot of people don't talk about that they probably should. I don't say that from personal experience, but I do know a couple of guides actually out west on the Pacific coast that have used them, and they absolutely swear by them, and they're taking them out through those big swells off the beaches in California. So
yeah, they're great. I mean, I'm going on my 5th year with them on their team. I've not flipped a kayak once. I've not been in. We've coming through Manasquan. You have those 30-foot to 50-foot sport fishers coming through there, picking up weights. We're pedaling against the tide, up, down, all over the place, and never felt uncomfortable at it. Which is they're so stable. The biggest thing, I mean, everybody think kayaks. I think Hobie. Hobie's the first name that comes people's head for whatever reason. But then there's the wilderness, which are great. There's lots of other brands people don't think of because I guess they don't see them in the stores or.
Right. Yeah, and I think people need to realize, Hobie's got the big name, but there's this perception with a lot of people that if you don't have a Hobie, it's because you can't afford one.
Exactly. It's like the guys, like old doctors drive their Harleys.
Right. But what it comes down to is, I was between. I thought I was going to get a Hobie, and when I used it, I didn't like it. Just wasn't for me. It's not a bad kayak at all. It wasn't for me. So I went to the Old Town. Absolutely love it. And I think for those that are new to kayaking, you got to keep that in mind. You need to get on the water with them and test them out. Just because it's a Hobie doesn't mean it's for you. Doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's good. Just means you got to get something for you.
Yeah, it's got to be comfortable. You got to be comfortable on it. See how you got to feel it, and that's a hard thing too for especially fishing in saltwater. It's hard to get on a kayak, find a rental place that rents out a Hobie or rents out wilderness. There's very few places I think that do that.
Yeah, it's usually a Hobie Compass is about all you can find.
It's funny before I ordered my Old Town, I ordered my Old Town, and then 2 days later you posted your last year kayak for sale, Rob. I was thinking to myself, I already spent the money. I'm like, damn.
All right, so those are the kayaks we're running. Now let's switch over a little bit to striped bass. Now, let's talk about the gear that you're using. Again, for anybody who wants to kind of look at what gear to use in a kayak. My first question though is, are you using the same rod, reel, and line throughout the year? So if you're fishing in spring, fall, or winter, is it the same?
Yeah. The only time I change any of them is if I'm going out front, going deeper.
Yeah.
Anything from the inlets to the back bays, the bridges. I used to use all Iowa. They're like Isla rods. They're inshore light action rods. They're about, I think they're 1/4 to 3/4 ounce. I usually generally use 1/2 ounce jig heads that I make with a 6-inch gulp, and that's my go-to for strippers around here. I know up north they don't work as well for people up there, but that's what I like, casting up into the currents. The lighter I can get away with just getting on the bottom.
Right, just so you can bump it.
Yeah, like I said, the one bridge I fish, it's up 35 foot. I'm casting 1/2 ounce jig with a 6-inch gulp up into the current, and I just want to hit them rocks on the bottom, whatever's on the bottom, just hit the structure. Every time, that's where the big bass are hiding at.
Yep.
You have little guys all over the top, splashing and moving around. The big ones are just sitting there waiting for something to come by. Every time they jump up, and it's kind of like almost like it bounces them in their mouth sometimes.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people, the top water bite is awesome. But often the bigger ones are down at the bottom.
And it's different too for the guys like with Mike up in Meriden Bay. Those guys are swimming, going around, trolling the big I forget the name of the company, the big old surf plugs, and they're just swimming around top of the water, and they're getting their bites on top of the water up there.
Yep. Well, it's also only about 8 feet in a lot of places where they're fishing. So
that Raritan Bay is a whole different world up there, man.
Yeah.
We're an hour apart, but it's a whole different world between.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah.
styles of fishing. It's crazy.
Yeah, remember there's like one channel goes to there, and it's all 8 foot all around that. Seems like.
Yeah, and at night, man, that shallow area just lights up.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And then you go a quarter of a mile. If let's say you launch from Perth Amboy or South Amboy, and then you come out to the channel. Now you're down in 45, 50, 60 feet, and then you go right over to Staten Island. You're back up to 6 feet.
Exactly.
But you're going to catch them all in between there. They're going to be somewhere in there, right, if they're in the area. So yeah, it's a different fishery though. I'm also using the same gear all year. Ed, you're also using the same stuff, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I have rods specific towards species, but other than that, everything's kind of the same.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, depending upon the species, whatever you're going for, each rod set up. Like usually, when I'm going out, I usually on average have at least 5 rods with me for the day.
Wow.
With one set up with just like a weighted hook with a gulp on it for casting up on top of the water, that half-ounce jig. Then I have one set up with a bottom sweeper for doing togs and tog or sheep's head, whatever. I'll go out for the day, planning that day out. Go in the back, do some stripers, come back up with the tide slats out. Try to go for sheep's head. I'm still trying to get one. Tog, triggers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that makes 3 of us. We got to get with
We're
Mike.
all still trying.
We got to get with Mike. He's the sheep herder.
They were killing them all in Atlantic City, all over the spring and end of the summer. I can't remember his name. He was out there. He got a real big one towards the end of the summer. But yeah, they were killing them right at the bridge.
Yeah, it might have been Mike.
I was trying, like nope, every time.
Yeah, I haven't gotten one on purpose. I've caught them by accident. But I also I had committed to myself I'd give it a go, and I didn't. I spent my time looking for where I might find redfish and specks. And I think I found some good spots. I wasn't able to get any though. But you get one day on the water and it's like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. It's like, well,
that's the hardest part trying to not overplan the day.
Yeah.
I can do this, I can do that. And you get all worked up in it. And then especially like me, I'm trying to film stuff. I'm trying to get photos. So that means you got to stop.
Yeah.
Stick a paddle on the ground with a camera clip on it, or go get this camera over here, drift through that, take some casts, throw the drone up, plan the shot to do transitions. And it just adds another layer. Adds another layer to it.
Yeah, I actually
too much work.
Here's what I do, Rob. When I get to the point where it's just like it does get exhausting, right? So that's when I try to go with as many people at the same time as possible, and then I just let them pick where we're going and all that stuff, because then I don't have to worry about it. And then when I have to do like the drone stuff and all of the other stuff, I'll just go alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And then people think I'm a jerk because I don't want to go with them. It's like, no, you don't understand.
You don't want to. Yeah, it's not.
You don't want to be with me at this moment. I'm going to spend 3 minutes here, and then I'm going to pedal a mile because I know I have to get this bank in the picture. Exactly. And it's such a pain. All right, so so you're using you went over the rod. What are you using? 15-pound braid?
Usually on my spinning rods, it's 15 Power Pro. On my casting rods, I think I got 40 on average on all those.
Yeah.
Just for the thicker line. I tend to use the casting rods more than anything. The spinning rods I use occasionally if I'm like twitching or something, but for the most part, it's all casting rods. Once I figured it out, that was it.
Yeah.
It's because there's more control over them.
I'm just getting into the I have bait caster reels on a couple rods. I'm just getting into using those more often. This is the first year of my life that I've used a bait caster or a casting type of setup more than a spinning rod. And it was weird because I went from literally 100% spinning. And then this past season, probably around 95+% casting. I had a really good year too. So
I just feel like you get more. It reads more. It reads on the ground more. You can feel more with it. get work. It's I don't know. It's the way everything translates through it.
Yeah,
compared to a
have
spinning
to
reel.
agree. I have to agree. I don't know. There's just something about it which clicked with me. So
That and said like sorry, like a lot like fishing bridges, a lot of bridges and stuff. Fishing those kind of situations where you're just casting and you get to the feel where you just drop it and hit it right in front of the pilings. Or spinning rod, if you can't grab the line, it's just you definitely get more control out of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Especially for me, I think it was mainly for fluke when I'm fishing, and I typically look for drop offs. And
Exactly.
it is so hard to fish the downward slope of a drop off with a spinning rod because you have to flip the bail, right? And it's just brutal. But if you have a flip and switch, you're just click, and then you can literally stay right at the bottom without it dragging the bottom. So that's what I do. So back to striped bass though. Let's start off talking about this time of year, right? So you're, I believe, all artificial.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So
unless I'm going up out front, I'll always have a snag rig for bunker.
Okay.
Which we used to be able to snag them and drop them down.
Yeah.
But now you have to have the snag set up and then have a live line set up so you can snag them, live line them, and drop them down to get them on the bottom.
Yeah. I actually started using those big tsunami shads as snag lures because they're weighted, and you can, when you're ripping it in, you can pick up a bass, but you can also snag the bunker when you come through the school.
Through the school,
yeah.
I just like that light jig head, 6-inch gulp. Always just about probably 90% of my striped bass fishing is fishing bridges at nighttime. And it's just because nobody's out there. It's quiet. There's nobody around for the most part.
Yeah.
And just feeling I like just sitting there working, feeling the bottoms, and just trying to find those fish and weeding through all the little guys.
So let's talk about the bridge fishing a little bit. I spent so my kids, one's in college, one's a senior in high school. So I am past the point where I have to give up my fishing time during the day while they're awake, and do all the nighttime stuff. But I did spend, 15 years essentially just fishing at night, while they were sleeping.
Yeah.
So I got really good at bridges, and I got to appreciate what they have to offer: the light, the shadow lines, the structure of the pilings, that type of thing. When you're looking for a bridge, what is it that you're specifically looking for when you decide whether or not you want to fish it?
Basically, you said it's the structure. It's how the bottom's laying. I'm looking for anywhere if I have an incoming tide, I want to find out where under those shadow lines there's a drop or there's something in front of that. You can usually see the fish. Sometimes you'll see the fish marked up, but most of the time, anything behind it, they're just sitting there. They're just sitting. Big fish don't want to do any work whatsoever. They're just waiting for something to come by. That's why I like using this 6-inch gulp. I actually bought some of the new 8-inch gulp to try them. Haven't any luck with those yet. The things are massive.
So they come 2 per pack?
There might be 2 or 3 in a pack.
Yeah.
$12.99.
Yeah. One bluefish and they're gone. But I just like being on a field, working it, feeling, reading the different bottoms. And after a while, you know what spots where you're gonna get hung up at. One thing for newer guys, it's just all about super slow. It's real slow, tapping off the bottom. If you get hung up, stop. Don't go like this. Usually you can stop, just turn around, pull right back out.
Beauty of a kayak.
Yeah, just sitting on something. Usually wherever the jig's just sitting on something. Usually not hooked in anything. It's got to turn around. Usually get it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Remember back when I first started, like, oh, shit, I'm stuck here. I'm just going to pull on this and get it out. And by then you're jammed up in there. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're snagging yourself. That's the best thing about a kayak, right? Or a boat with a trolling motor.
Yeah, exactly.
Reverse, just literally go on the other side and just start reeling, and it'll probably come out.
Yep.
Yeah, we've had that debate with tog fishing. I love to drift when I'm tog fishing. And John Creeley, who's on this live stream quite often, he does not like that. And he kind of frowns at me sometimes when I say that I like it. But I like it because I cover more ground. I have a pedal
Yeah.
kayak, so I can slow my drift. But I can also turn around and get off these snags
Get off the
that
things.
everyone else gets stuck on.
We had a tournament up in Point Pleasant food tournament. I went up there, a bunch of guys was supposed to be with me, ended up being me by myself. So I went out I think about 2 miles off from Manasquan, and same thing, just drifting across, and you could feel all the stuff, and it would just drop into a hole of a wreck or subway car, who knows what.
Yeah.
And every time there's a fish right in there, pulling these big fish out every time. And as long as you take your time, there's boats all around me. They're not catching anything.
Right.
They're probably looking at me like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
I said, just taking that time, pedal forward a little bit.
Well, I'm going to do this while we're talking. I want to put up some pictures just so that people can see some of the fish that you're catching. They're not all striped bass, but you will notice that a lot are at night, like you said, so.
And that's another thing too, is with all these photos, I have the Ram Tough Pole. You kind of see a little knob in the corner of my ankle there.
Yep.
So I got out in front of that. I've got a GoPro. This is what I have around a GoPro 8. And then I have a Lytra torch, little cube waterproof light, LED light. So you set the GoPro up with your, I think like 125 is lowest you can go with the shutter speed. You take the ISO, put it around 800 or so, because if you let it go on auto, it'll screw the background up.
Yep.
Turn the LED light on, you can get those clearer pictures at nighttime without blowing things out.
All right, I'm going to have to do that because mine are terrible.
Take notes, Rich. Take notes.
I'm going to replay this later. Anyone who wants to start a YouTube channel with fishing, replay this back to this moment so that you can hear from an expert, because I am not and Rob is.
And then a lot of it too is that I'll take all those photos. Every photo in here is usually either pulled off a video clip or tell them to have the GoPro in the voice settings, GoPro take photo, or GoPro shoot burst. And then you go into Photoshop afterwards and bring the saturation or bring the highlights down, take the noise out, bring the shadows back in.
Yeah, I'm not good at that stuff. You're talking Photoshop. I'm using Canva. So, which is, I still think puts me ahead of a lot of people, but.
And most of the time too, like I'm taking the photos off the GoPro. On my ride back from where I'm fishing at to the launch, I'll start downloading photos to my phone, and I use my Photoshop app in the phone to do all the editing. And the power on that's just crazy now. If you have a good photo to start with, you can recover so much more data with it.
Right.
And it also too, another thing, when you're shooting the GoPros should always be set to RAW for the photos. You always want to shoot a RAW image, so you're not compressing and losing any information. Because when you do a JPEG, the camera is deciding what is necessary and throws out a lot of information. You shoot RAW, it says all your darkest dark spots, all your lightest highlights. So you have more to work with when you go to do your edits.
That I did know. I don't know if I'm good at doing it. I don't know how it's set up right now, though. To be honest, it used to be set up properly. But yeah, if you're ever editing a picture, you'll know if you did it wrong.
Yeah,
because you're not going to be able to touch up anything, really well. You're going to be kind of stuck with what came out of the camera, and you're going to notice that. Well, I know that this was here, and you can't even see it because you just kind of lost it.
Like this shot here, that one there, that was up and through Manasquan out front, dropping bunker down. I wasn't even set up for it. I had my friend Gary gave me a hook. I think I had a 1 ounce pyramid weight. I have a 1 ounce casting rod, and brought that thing on a 1 ounce rod, no problem.
Yeah, that's a nice fish.
Yeah, that was a good one. I think that was 46.
Yeah, that's looking mid to upper 40s there. Yeah.
And then that was the one I kept So I had that on dive hook in the back of the kayak, and then had to come against the tide through Manasquan Inlet with that in the back of the kayak and boats coming through.
Yeah, that's not
and,
good.
And that was in November when the water was cold.
Yeah, that's no good. So you were just towing it in?
I had it behind my back seat, but it was you could feel it. It was tails hanging out one side, the head's hanging out the other side of the kayak.
Yeah.
We got five to 6 foot weights coming through there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not fun. There you go. That's a good night shot right there.
I think that was probably taken on my phone. That was recent. That was from last week or 2 weeks ago. And you can see his little half-inch stick head.
Yep.
I think it was fire tiger gulp.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next one. There you go. So you're out there. I mean, you're hitting them all year, and you can tell by what you're wearing in some of these. There's some summer striper in there.
Yeah.
There's definitely some colder weather, and you're using all year. You're using the same gulps and jigs.
Yep, same thing, all season long. And I'll change. The only time I'll change anything up is for stripers. Instead, we go up front if I want to snag something. Because if I bunker pods, just snag a bunker. There's usually fish on the big fish underneath of them.
Yeah, I think people overcomplicate it. And somebody's going to get mad as soon as I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You have to use a mojo, or you have to use umbrella rigs. It's like, I can show you a video where I'm going past all these boats who are catching them on mojos, and here I am catching them on a bucktail. Here I am catching it on a swim shad. Here I am catching it on just a small paddle, a 3.5-inch paddle tail. I think people overcomplicate it sometimes. Now, there are some things where, okay, you have the sand, like sand eels are coming in right now, right? So, okay.
Exactly.
So, okay, maybe you change it up and you do go for something that's a little bit more of a sand eel pattern. Now, we're also talking kayak, right? Not necessarily talking surf fishing. Surf fishing, I think, is a little different. I do try a lot harder to match the hatch there. So if there are sand eels in the surf, I'm going with sand eels or something that imitates them, or at least a sand eel teaser. I don't think that's as necessary when you're talking about these free swimming, migrating fish, or even resident fish that are out there.
I mean, I think they're just like if they're eating, they're eating. They don't really care. Like they're eating. If they're in the mood to eat, they're hungry. I've had plenty of times going out. I'm marking fish up and down, like piles of them, and everything I throw at them, it's like, doesn't matter if I throw it at them. They're just not in the mood to eat. Whether it's the temperature or the weather, you get tons of different, so many different things that can go on. That the wrong wind or whatever.
The worst time for that for me, and it's not this time of year, but the cinder worm hatch. Mm-hmm. That's the worst. I mean, you see them, and I can never get, even on cinder worm pattern, even on cinder worms, I have never been able to get consistent bites during the cinder worm. I guess it's a hatch. I don't know, but they all come out of nowhere.
Yep.
It's crazy. Wow. Another really nice one.
That was towards the end of the summer. Same thing. There's fish all over the place on top. I think that one was on incoming tide. There's a spot. There's a lip of rocks or whatever. It goes from 30 foot, comes up to about maybe 17 foot, and drops back down to about 25. You just cast over that one spot and swallow the whole.
This is not a migrating fish.
No, that's a resident fish.
Yeah, which so right there, when Chris Matuson was on, he did a pretty good job, kind of getting rid of the myth that all resident bass are schoolies, or schoolie size or rat size. This is just further evidence right here. This has to be in upper 30s, right? Low 40s.
Yeah, that was 31.
Oh, it was low. Okay, all right. So low 30. So it's a slot size.
Yeah.
Bass.
He was fat. He was a fat fish.
That is a fat fish. That was full when you got it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. I got some more pics that I'll throw in here too, just so that people can see there's a full range of things. I mean, right here, you got a couple of dinners sitting there hanging over.
That was the Point Pleasant tournament. from this year. That I won both heaviest and both classes for that.
Yeah, you've won quite a few tournaments, as far as I can tell. We've got a picture in here of you were in second place in the what is it, the paddle and
fish and paddle down in
fish and
Maryland.
paddle.
That's if anybody wants to do like an away saltwater tournament, it's one of the best ones. The setup for it's amazing. I think we had 30 guys showed up for one this past year. It's just fun. Everybody has a good time. No like competition other than with ourselves. Me and another guy went out front for that through Maryland. It was
I was gonna say that's the Maryland one, right?
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
that
one's
one
on my
actually thinking about doing this year.
Yeah. This
so maybe we'll be meeting down. And wasn't this your fish for that tournament?
that was a drum caught.
Yeah,
I went out front and fished the jetties there. I had a 2-day-old dead sand flea that somebody else had given me from the first day. I just pulled it out, threw it on a jig head, and first cast, swallowed it, and I was blown away.
That's a great fish, and that's a great fish that puts you in second place, right?
Yeah. I won second place, and then I won heaviest fish of the tournament, which got me a lightning kayak.
Yeah, maybe I really do need to fish that one. Ed, take off that day. We're going.
It's a good time.
I told you. I told
it's
you
a
I
great
wanted
group.
to do it.
It's a lot of fun. There's last year we had some weather. Me and another guy went out front. It was me and some local guy that was a nut, probably just as much as I was. Like I should have never been out there. I went through the inlet. I was like, just as soon as I got to the front of the inlet, it dropped. There was like waves coming in. It must have been dipping into like 6 foot. I'm like, oh, well, there's nothing left to do but go.
Yeah,
went right through it. First time going an inlet in the brand new Recon. Like I never even been in that kind of water with it yet. There was breakers coming over your head. It was sketchy.
Yeah. Well,
didn't catch anything out there, but I didn't die either, so that was good.
Yeah. Well, you have a good kayak for it. Recon is definitely a good kayak for it. I go when I run an inlet, I just in my mind say, okay, it is entirely possible that if it gets sketchy, I'm just going to have to land on a beach and get an Uber to get my truck and pay some kid to watch the kayak for a while.
Exactly.
That's just the risk that you take when you do it. But for a tournament, I think we'd all do a couple of sketchy things, especially if you're with somebody else and you have all the proper gear.
That's the thing. I was by myself. Nobody else wanted to go out.
Well, that's how you won the second place.
Yeah. And then
go where nobody else wants to go.
And it was funny because there was a local kid that he popped out. I'm like, oh, I'm not the only person out here. And then he drops an anchor out there. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
An anchor.
He dropped an anchor.
Oh my god.
At the point of the inlet, and I see his head. Now he goes here, and he's down here. It's up here. I'm like, he's one of those real salty guys from Maryland. He probably does so many different things where he should have died 100 times. It never does.
Yeah. So let's do the public service announcement right now. When you're in heavy seas in a kayak, do not anchor. Especially if you are adult human size. If you are a little kid, maybe you can weather that. The kayak will just pop up and over. But if you have any weight in that kayak, it is going to pull your nose under, and you're just going to continually get swamped until you get heavy, and then you roll. So don't do it.
Don't anchor in bad weather. If you're going to anchor, have an anchor trolley set up. So you can either pull it to the front or back. You never want to anchor off the side, and you'll get pulled under. Even in
and have a quick release on that trolley.
Not even in you don't have to be in bad situations. You can have a boat come through and wake you and flip you over.
Yep, that almost happened to me. Brigantine. I was anchored next to a channel on a spring tide, so it was ripping. Ripping. And luckily, I did have it off the trolley. So the guy, I don't know why he was going as fast as he was, because I was right at the docks. And he came hauling through, and he decided to slow down near me, but he never came off plane. He was off plane. He was just kind of trudging. So his 1 foot wake turned into 3.5 foot wake, and here I am anchored with a stiff current. And luckily, the anchor trolley. If I didn't have an anchor trolley, I would have been screwed. I would have been over. As it was, I had my hand on the quick release, ready to just pull that cord and let it go. But I made it. I made it. That's brigantine.
It's tough with boats because it's funny because most boats, you get guys that know what they're doing, and if you didn't know better, you would think, "Oh, what's this guy doing? He's flying by me." You want him to fly by as fast as he can possibly go. Because as soon as they slow down, or they get back on it again, and that's when the weight comes up.
Yep, just either go or don't go.
Exactly.
Don't stop and look. And if you feel the need to turn around as you go by and watch to see your waves and see what happens, you're not going fast enough.
Yeah.
You got to get going. You got to get moving.
I don't know if you guys, I have some friends down in Charles Breon down in Wildwood area. We do fish down in Wildwood, do some Wildwood tournaments, Sea Isle and stuff. If you ever think brigantine is bad, it's nothing compared to Sea Isle and Wildwood.
That's where I do most of my fishing.
It's just pure chaos down there.
It's
just chaos.
It is bananas. It is absolutely the stuff that you see. And the best part is I really know those waters behind Wildwood. So when you see these guys come by and they plow you with a wake and their buddy plows the other side of you and you're stuck in the middle, and you turn around and look at them and you can just smile because you know that the boat on the left is just about to hit 1 foot of water at full speed.
Yep.
And then I can spend the next 20 minutes watching Sea Tow haul them off.
I've never seen more boats, $30,000, $40,000 boats, rocket launchers all over the place, and not one rod on the boat.
Yep.
8 outboards, going fishing boats, and not one fishing pole in the entire boat.
That's like COVID money.
Cruising and going to the bar. That's all they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that, and I consider those my home waters. It can get really bad down there, and that's not saying people from Wildwood are bad. I'm just saying the people that drive their boats down. Just as many, if not more, come out of Stone Harbor and Avalon as Wildwood, and they are just crazy.
I'm assuming.
I think it's have a weekday off.
Yeah. I think the whole reason for that is just there's more places to go with your boat. So there's just more traffic.
Yeah. So let's jump back over a little bit. Striped bass. So tactics. What about daytime tactics? Are you the type of person that will fish during the day all day for striped bass? Or are you really targeting like the twilight, dawn, and dark?
I'll start my day before the sun comes up. Get to my spots I want to go to. I'd like to try to fish the top of the tide once it switches out. Go back and fish the creeks, fish any mouth, anywhere there's drop-offs, because usually all the bait's getting pulled out
right
as the tide's leaving, and the stripers usually hang out in those spots. That's what I like to try to throw, like I said, a weighted hook. Like a weighted screw hook with a gulp on it. And just cast it up into the top and work those through those creek mouths.
You talking the twist lock hooks?
Yeah. Or if the tide's going out before it comes back in, trying to find anywhere where you got like a hole or little channels in the flats. Because usually the fish will lay up in there pretty well.
Right. Ed, what are you doing?
This is honestly the first year I really tried. Since I've gotten the kayak, I got it in April. So my first striper in the kayak was by mistake. Really, I was drifting a bucktail. I was actually fluke fishing, and the fish just hit it like a freight train. It was screaming dragon. I'm like, what the hell did I get? I reeled it in. It was a decent sized striper. I don't think it was slot, but just barely. But then the fall I started doing a little more. I've been up in the river doing night trips. So I got those the switchblades I started using. So that's really it. It's been quiet for me. And then
most of my strippers, I have my best luck at night. Daytime, I can catch them. It's not as consistent as night. It takes a lot more work to get daytime fish. I go to the spots where they're supposed to be, work those areas. If they're biting, I'll find them. But it's not like my nighttime is when I like fishing the most.
Yeah,
I have my best luck at nighttime.
Yeah, it seems that at nighttime they become predictable. You know, in the daytime it's like, okay, they could be anywhere, but at nighttime they're probably going to be in these few areas the most, right? So you're going to want to look docks, you're going to want to look at sod banks, you know, and drop offs near shallow water, and lights. Anything with lights, which is why bridges are great. Bridges have everything.
Yeah.
You know, they have the contours, they have the structure, they have the lights, they have literally everything, which I think is why they're great places to go. During the day, though, it seems like they could be there, but they're not as active. Although I will say, the fish that I've caught most is bycatch this year, striped bass. So I've caught it sheep's head fishing, tog fishing, fluke fishing, bluefish fishing. So yes, I do target bluefish only. And I've caught some striped bass and weak fish fishing. I've caught striped bass as bycatch on all of those.
Yeah, usually they're always there. Just whether they're eating or whether they're in the mood to eat. I don't know if it's nighttime. I feel like nighttime is more cover, so they're more likely to sit and wait and attack for stuff. Trying to find points, go back behind. I was a kid.
That's all right. We've all got them.
Yeah. They're fishing the sod banks around the points and stuff. Like just always wait. Striped bass are more like the ambush.
Yep, definitely ambush predators. Absolutely. So let me ask you this. You know, we're coming up at 45 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on the fishery itself. What you've noticed over the past few years. There's, you know, it's not just this year. It's literally every year around this time, everyone starts fighting. It's the best year ever. It's the worst year ever. Conservation works. Conservation doesn't work. I'm keeping them all. I'm not keeping any. Where are you in that camp? What do you think the outlook is right now?
With the time that I've spent over the last 5 years really heavily doing this, the places that I fish are consistently just the same amount of numbers. I fish spots where I'm reading hundreds and hundreds of schoolie striped bass on these spots, like year after year. It hasn't depleted. As the years have gone on, I've caught bigger fish instead of less bigger fish. Like this year, I had a decent amount of. I'm not saying huge fish, but I'm talking between your 26s to 35s in that range in these areas that I fish constantly and seeing bigger fish in those areas. You see them up north and out Manasquan area, up that way, these big party boats, they're still catching other fish nonstop. Where it runs out, I'm not sure. I know the growth rate isn't that fast, but seems like there's always a steady group of young to big, young to big, young to big.
Right. Ed, what's your thought?
Go ahead, bro.
And as far as, like I said, each year, I'll usually beginning of the season, I'll take a 30, 28, 30. And then end of the season, I'll bring home a 20 or 30. I usually take 3 fish a year. Take them home, we cut them up that night, eat them. It's not a constant. Every fish you catch, you got to take home. Every fish you got to catch, take home with me. But I haven't seen any people like, oh, there's no fish. They're all gone. Like, I haven't seen that at all yet.
Yeah.
In the places that I've fished.
Right. I'm feeling that way as well. Ed?
Yeah, I don't catch enough. I'll be straight up. I don't catch enough to have an educated opinion on it. I'm not going to keep every fish I catch or every keeper size or I have a bonus tag and I've caught, 6 or 7 that I could have used it for. For me, it's once in a while,
Right.
We catch enough flounder throughout the year to where I don't need to between flounder and tog, they're my favorite anyway. That's my kid's favorite. So striped bass every once in a while is, it's a treat. I don't need them every
My
week.
daughter loves it. My daughter loves straight bass. Every time it's like more.
Yeah.
I need more.
They are good. They are good. I think the smaller ones taste better. And by smaller, I mean the underslots. I think they, can't keep them up here, but I think those, to me personally, taste the best. I will say my opinion on, I think I've been pretty vocal about what I do. I don't keep striped bass unless there's, maybe I'll keep one a year, and it's usually because I hooked it too deep or it didn't revive. I'm the guy who says if it's legal, I'm never going to complain that you do it, at least in public. My concern, and we're going to cover this in a video next month, is we're going to go into detail. The more I read about the fishery, the more concerned I get, because there's a recruitment class of fish. So born in whatever year, I don't remember. I think it was 2017. That the population really depends on. And apparently that just recently has been decimated for one reason or another, which means that it could be a bad few years coming up soon, because those fish are supposed to be turning into the big breeders, and they're not, and there aren't enough making it to the big breeder status. So these 40 and 50 pound fish that people are catching right now are not that. They're the older ones. So they're going back, but they're not going to last much longer. So I have to do a lot more research on it. I'm not going to claim that I know everything about it. I do have some concerns when I read those articles. At the same time, though, I mean, I haven't really targeted striped bass much this fall, but they're always there. I have no concern that if I were to go out right now, throw the kayak in the truck, I can guarantee you by the morning I'd have plenty of them boated, because they're just still all over.
Yeah, the only thing that I see that I don't understand how it works, that you get your commercial boats, you get like the 100-foot boats go out. You have 125 people on the boat, shoulder to shoulder. Everybody gets a fish, whether they catch a fish or not. Grandma's getting a fish, little kids getting a fish, little sisters getting a fish.
Yep.
And these boats go out. They do that 1-2 trips a day.
Yep.
7 days a week. You would think that there would be no fish left after a year from that. You think they would be all gone after that, because the amount they pull through the entire season. I can't grasp how that works, and they can do it every year and every year and every year.
Well, then the state's giving them fistfuls of bonus tags to keep even the smaller ones that can't even grow.
Exactly.
I don't know. That whole thing just it grates me.
That's the only nerves. You get the charter guys that take people out, and they do the same thing, but they're getting 1-2 fish. They're trolling around for 8 hours a day, hoping to find one fish, trolling their mojos. They probably burnt $2,000 in gas.
Right.
But the big party boats, that's the only thing I don't understand. That's the only thing that I see that's just it's not going to change, because it's money. It's not going to money's going to run.
And not even that. It's not even the amount of fish they keep. It's the amount of fish. How many go back and then die a day later because they were hooked wrong, or you know what I mean? It's not even. It's not even what they bring home. It's the aftermath.
They're getting grabbed, yanked up, or this is the thing about with kayak guys. It's even no matter who does what, it's more conservation forward than any other fishing. Even some boat guys pull the fish up, catch them, grab them by the side of the kayak, pull them out, get the hook out, and throw it back in the water again. Get a picture. Even if I'm getting a bigger fish and I'm doing pictures, I'll get the fish up, I'll put them on a hook, put them back in the, or not, I'm the hook. No. I use the grips. So I'll grip them on the lips. I have that on a leash. It goes right back in the water. I go get my camera, turn my camera on, turn my light on, set everything up. Once I'm ready to go, pull the fish back out, take the photo, unclamp, go, and he's gone. Yeah. He's not sitting on the deck of the boat for 10 minutes and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's just in, out, back on the water again.
Yeah, they're typically sliding up for when I boat a striped bass, I grab it with my right hand off the right side, slide it up, and I'm usually, I'm wet at that point. I'll make sure that it's wet. I'll put it on my lap. I've got the forward or the back facing camera. I hold it up, and then I literally just right off the other side.
Yeah.
And it's gone, unless it needs to be revived. In which case, then I do use I use those big Berkeley grips.
Yeah.
And then you just put it in the water and just start pedaling and just start towing it, which is a great way to revive it. It's a very easy way to revive it. Man, I remember doing that off of a 24-foot Grady White, trying to revive a striped bass, and you're leaning over, and you got to trust that the guy you've been making fun of all day is not going to let you fall over.
Yeah.
And when it's your uncle, it's even worse.
Oh yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah,
we have a good question that came in from John. If I could post that up, I'd like to touch on that.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll come back, James, to your question also about the rigs or the jigs.
Yes. John says, to me, us in New Jersey have a strict limit, I guess, compared to other states. And why is that? Actually, we don't. We're one of the only states that does have the bonus program. And I think most states are like 28 to 36 or 37 inches. We're up to 38. So actually, New Jersey's been fighting all these regulations that I forget the acronym, but they're coming up on all this stuff now that they're looking at putting in more restrictions. And New Jersey's fighting it tooth and nail. So
in
reality, we have the most lax.
Yeah. Because Chesapeake Bay, like they're pretty, like I think they're about 26s or something like that.
Their slot is tiny.
Ones. Yeah,
which is actually better. I mean, there's the trade-off, right? If it's a smaller fish, you're not taking the breeders. You're actually getting them before they get to breeder size, and a lot of them are going to die anyway. However, you can catch a lot more.
Yeah.
I could hit the Chesapeake, and anyone can hit the upper bay right now and just clean them up.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's arguments to be made. That I think the problem, John, is that these boards are run by states who don't ever look at the fish. They look at their own interests and the special interests in each different state. So Maryland is going to look at it differently than New Jersey. New Jersey just seems to be the jerk in the crowd all the time. They always just want to push it a little bit further. Say what you want about the bonus tag program, but to me, the bonus tag program just means there really isn't a limit, because as soon as you use your bonus tag, it's not like deer. You get where you use your tag, you're done. All you do is you just get a new one the next day. It takes about 3 or 4 days to get a new one. Mm-hmm. So really, New Jersey has done a masterful job at pretending that they have limits, but doing everything they can to get around them. With that said, I'm going to go back to what I said before. If it's legal, go ahead, man. I'm not going to complain. At least in public, I may say, I wish you didn't kill that, but if it's legal, it's legal, and if I have a problem with it, it's my fault for not going to a meeting and saying something and getting 30 other people to go with me. That's kind of the way that I look at it.
Exactly.
And then part of the problem too is these people that for each state, a lot of them are political appointees. They don't even know what a freaking striped bass is. Yeah. And then they go to all the meetings and stuff with all the anglers and all the people that actually know what's going on. And half the time they do the complete opposite of what they're being suggested or whatever, because if it's a political,
it's all about votes.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's enough politics for this channel. Anyway.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's pull it off of the politics thing. We just got a couple more minutes here. Question from James is a pretty good question. Let me remove this. There. So we're not covering you up, Rob. Do you have a go-to color when you're using gulps or jigs?
My go-to color, night or day, has been either the salmon gulp, Butte, the blue fuse, and the fire tigers. I use them all the time, just because I don't know. It's just the colors that I like, because it's the same thing as a fish. Like, I make jigs. I make my own jigs. I make ridiculous, fancy, different colors and patterns and all that. Fish don't care.
Your stuff's gorgeous. I wouldn't even tie it onto a fish line, dude.
The only person that cares about that is the person's buying it. It's like, yeah, that looks nice. I like that. Fish don't care. They say the different colors and different waters and stuff. I don't know if I don't think we're going down deep enough. I've used said salmon, bright ass salmon gulp, middle of the night, no moon, and 30 foot of water, and they get hit just as well as anything else.
Yeah, I think that the change is at like 60 feet. And I kind of agree with you in a lot of things. Now, there would definitely be days which kind of go against that argument where one color does outproduce other colors, right? But for the most part, I always start with white or some version of white.
Yeah, I've never used a white gulp ever.
Really? That's interesting.
When I first started, I had the gulp mullets. I used them, and the way made white. They did the white shrimps.
Yeah.
But once I started using the gulp grubs, it's always something bright.
Interesting.
Whether it's chartreuse, mixture chartreuse. I love the fire tigers and the blue fuses because the color combination. I like the color combination, and I've not come back without fish though, or very rarely.
So James and I are going to hit the store and try out some new colors. Yeah, I've never used blue fuse. I've used the others. Salmon, definitely. I like that for flounder as well. And fire tiger. I think everybody's used fire tiger. There's just something about that just works.
And even with flounder, like I've tried different colors, and it doesn't matter what color I'm using. If the flounder aren't biting, they're not biting. That's why, like, one of my things I like to do is whenever I'm flounder fishing, getting to where I'm going, I'll do like a small topwater plug and just troll that behind me, pick up bluefish.
Yeah, I
always like to get at least 2 or 3 bluefish on the way. If they're not biting, cut the bellies up, put them on the hook, and then if they're not biting, then just go home because you're not going to catch it. They're definitely not. There's just nothing biting that day. Did I freeze? You freeze?
I think Rich froze.
Yeah, I think I froze. I don't know.
Okay.
Who cares? When I'm on my way to flounder spots, and I will actually troll for flounder sometimes if I'm going really slow. I found really well of how fast you're going and where the bottom is, because you definitely want to keep skipping the bottom or stay with some kind of cut bait. That is a great cut bait. I don't know if you're allowed to, are you allowed to do that?
Was that?
He said, I know, I think he was touching on cut bait, but I'm losing him.
You want to use cut bluefish for bait now?
Bluefish, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they changed it. Well, they changed the limit to bluefish to what? You know, like take
3
bluefish.
I'm pretty sure it's 3 blues.
Yeah.
And then for like flounder belly, you can use flounder belly, but you have to have the rack on the boat.
Yeah, on the rack. Little cocktail blues. I don't think there's any. Is the cocktail blues fall on the same as the full size blues? That'd be crazy. You don't get like cocktail blues.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think it's just 3 fish. I don't know that there's a size.
All right, guys. Is there anything else that we should cover before we go?
Like you were saying, if you're gonna start stripper fishing, now's not the time to do it. Once March 1st hits until about maybe May, June, still really not the time to do it yet. Until that water hits like 63, 64, unless you're buying a dry suit, don't go out there. Don't bother. Don't chase the kids out there. Don't go buy a brand new Hobie. Everybody's catching stripers in the bay. It's 70 degrees out. The water's still cold, and you're going to die.
And you got to be 100%.
Safe. Yep, definitely. Get the. So I keep losing connection. You guys can still hear me.
A little bit.
All right. So listen.
A little bit.
It's awesome having you.
Thank you.
Thanks for spending some time with everybody.
We lost you, Rich.
Everybody's starting to freeze.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is.
Somebody hacked again. Servers got hacked.
Technology is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone, thanks for swinging by.
All right.
Only is that better?
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. That's it. If I can't, Ed, you got to take it for me. I'm going to try it one more time.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know how to stop the stream, but anyway, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Rob, it was awesome having you here. Hopefully Rich gets his internet figured out, and we will should be back next week. And that's about it.
Thanks. See you later.
See you, Rob.
Bye.